to God for getting us here. God's been so good. Look at y'all all looking great. And Chief Scoggins, you got to be very, very, very proud. I know I'm proud. I'm proud to be a Seattleite. I'm proud of the fire department. I'm proud of everybody who's here. But on that note, we're going to get this program going. And there's a special person. I want to thank the people at Holgate Church. Christ, they've been great. The minister here, Heard. Minister Heard. Now, usually when you introduce somebody, you just say, minister, come up, because we got to do the location. But I don't know if you know his history. You know, he's one of them star basketball players. He won the state championship. What did he do? He was watching the game, of course. So I got to do it like this. Now, introducing the strong, powerful. Oh, but he just said, point God, we'll make a power forward for this church. Minister Hurd, please, the invocation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We've had the privilege of serving this community on this corner for 51 years. Celebrated our 50th anniversary last year, and we're privileged to do that. Let's pray. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this day. Every day that we experience is a gift from you. We don't take that for granted. We thank you for the opportunity to serve one another, to serve this community. We especially thank you for these men and women, firefighters, who protect our person and our property. We thank you for those that we're going to be honoring today, for those who have gone before us in the past and have given their lives for the benefit of this community. We thank you for the freedoms that we share, and we pray for the courage to continue to fight for those freedoms that are at risk and those that we still yet do not have. So we invite you into our presence today. We celebrate these individuals, and we celebrate you. In the name of Jesus our Lord, we pray. Amen. And now I'll turn things over to our master of ceremony. Eddie Rye was my community activist hero. I remember sitting up in meetings. I was in high school, college, and here was this fiery guy who was fearless and had a vision and had a cause and was willing to fight for that. So I'll turn things over to him at this time.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I was little and get beat up. I'm fortunate. Well, I want to introduce my co-MC, who is Sade Moore. Sade is chair of the Seattle King County Martin Luther King Jr. Organizing Coalition. And before we do anything else, we're going to have Joseph. Oh, go ahead.
We're going to ask that Ms. Josephine Howe comes to the stage and gets us started with Lift Every Voice and Sing. Please give her a round of applause.
We ask that you please stand to your feet. Lift every voice and sing till our throne heaven. Bring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day. Let us march on till victory is won. Stormy the road we trod, bitter the test meanwhile, fighting the days when hope and born had died, yet with the steady beat of not a have found the side, for we have come over a way that the tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughter. Out of the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the bright gleams of a bright star is cast. God of all weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us this far way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us into the light, keep us from the path. We pray, lest our feet stray from the places of God where we may be. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of this world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy stand true to our God, true to our native land. So let us march on till victory.
Thank you, Josephine Howe.
That was wonderful. Thank you for being seated. Next up, I'm going to do a reading of why Black History Month is observed in February and its importance. Black History Month got its start in 1926 when Dr. Carter G. Woodson, an African American, promoted Negro History Week in February. Black History Month, or National African American History Month, is an annual celebration of achievements made by Black Americans and a time to reflect on the central roles of African Americans in U.S. history. The celebration can be felt nationally as many organizations, cities, and states host events to raise awareness of Black culture and honor prominent Black individuals who have helped shape the course of American history. Black History Month is an integral part of our nation's tradition in which we continue to promote positive examples of historical events, exemplary leaders, and steps towards societal change. This remembrance is not only deeply meaningful for the African American community, but imperative for the greater understanding of U.S. and world history. Next up, I'm going to invite Mr. Chandler Williams to sing a selection.
This is Captain Terrence Williams' son.
Standing here, not knowing how I get through this test, but holding on to faith in my worst. Nothing can catch you by surprise. You got things figured out. You're watching us now. And it looks as if we can't run. Like the sun, your eyes and the step in. And everything we need you supply. You've got this in control. And now we know that you made a way. When our backs were against the wall, and it looked as if it was over, you made a way. We stand in you only because you made a way. You move mountains, and you cause us to fight with your power. You perform miracles. There is nothing that's impossible. And we're standing here only because you made a way. You made a way. When our backs were against the wall, and it looked as if it was over, you made a way. And we're standing here only because you made a way.
Okay. I see former State Representative Peggy Maxie walking into the building. She was the first African-American female elected to the Washington State House. And yeah, so she is with us. She's on her way down right now. So, hey, well, you want to take the microphone, Miss Peggy? No, you can walk and talk at the same time. You used to. You got a mic. Okay, why don't you take one? Okay. So, Miss Representative Peggy Maxie, thank you for coming.
Sorry.
Give it a microphone.
Sorry, I was late. I depend on my sister-in-law, and she's
She have a
parking the car.
microphone?
You want me to come up there?
No, you can just go ahead and do it right there. You have a microphone?
Okay.
Hold the microphone up.
Okay, great. It's nice to see so many people coming out. And Department of, what is it, Fire Department? That's wonderful.
That's what it is.
That is so wonderful. Yes. Hi there. Great. Well, I just welcome the opportunity to be with you for a few minutes. And I think that we have a wonderful community, and there is so much to do and so little time. And it is so great to see Eddie Rai and this gentleman has
He's just trying to get his attention. You go ahead and talk.
Okay, I'm very pleased that you remembered me, and want to reflect on the fact that George Fleming served the same time that I did, and we don't want to forget him. He was a wonderful senator. And so this gentleman wants to speak?
No.
Oh, later. Oh, okay.
And all the time.
Well, it's just wonderful to be here. This is a beautiful church. It's the first time I've been here. Is it brand new? It's wonderful. Yeah, thank you, parishioners, who put this together. Come up here, so. Okay, this is my sister-in-law. Married my brother Bob.
Yep.
Been my caretaker. Out of God a lot, and so get to go. And it's so wonderful to see all the beautiful people. Yeah. Ooh, those are pretty. Okay. Yeah, you betcha.
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, State Representative Kristen Harris Talley is here. She was going to do the presentation for Peggy Maxie, and I goofed that up. Here you go, ma'am.
You never mess anything up. We're all here family. So I was honored to be asked, and I am so glad, Ms. Peggy Joan Maxie, that you are here to get your flowers today because of all the many years of service you have given all of us. A little bit about this woman who broke great ground for so many, including me in this state. One of 4 children. I'm also one of 4. She was born in Texas, and when she was 6 years old, came with her mother and siblings to Seattle. I cannot imagine you knew then, a kindergartner, a first grader, that you would be the first Black woman to serve in our state legislature. And I am so glad you came and are. You will not be surprised to hear that a woman with as much gumption and tenacity as Miss Maxie came from a woman with that same tenacity. For the reason her mother moved here was to get a job at Boeing, and she got it the very next day. Early on, it was clear that Ms. Maxie was a brilliant, community-oriented leader. For she had graduated from Seattle University in 1970, and that same year her brother said, well, now that you got some time on your hands, what do you think about running for office? And she said yes, but not one to just run for office and be one of the first Black women to do so in a district that at the time was majority Black people, but for a state legislature where we were woefully underrepresented. She also decided to start her social worker grad program the same year as well, and had great success in that as well when she graduated from the University of Washington only 2 years later, where she had to ask permission from the dean so that she could legislate and be in graduate school simultaneously. In 1971, but she did all of that and more. For when she became a state legislator, one of the first fights she had to have was amongst those Black people of the Central District who were going to be pushed out of the 37th legislature. The very people who had helped elect her had found themselves drawn out of their own community when it came to voter voice. So what did Ms. Maxie do almost off the bat? Well, I filed an affidavit, of course, one of the first at the state level, which transformed not only that map for our neighbors at that time, but the entire redistricting process when the courts took that into consideration and had equity as a lens in which those maps continued and to this day continue to have to be drawn. Thank you for that work. Thank you for holding that line, Ms. Maxie. And that was the first of many fights that she did not cower from, where she held the line. And I'm amongst many Black women here who are here doing our good work because you did that, Ms. Maxie. And I want to thank you for those many years of service, for you served for 12 more years as our state legislator, representing the set position 2 of this district, just as I do today. And I particularly want to thank you because when I ran, no other Black queer woman had ever been a state legislator, and our neighbors saw fit to send me to be the first. And I follow in your footsteps, so thank you. But as we all know, being in the legislature is but one of many ways we give service to our communities. And when Ms. Maxie did not serve in that capacity more, she went back to her roots of making sure that those of us in our communities are well of mind, body, and spirit, and continued her work in psychology and social work, becoming a therapist in community for many, many more years. So thank you for wrapping that care around our families and children. When you look in your pamphlet today, you will see the beautiful pink pamphlet that was handed out to neighbors everywhere when Ms. Maxie ran. And it said, vote wisely in your district, vote for Maxie, a person of the people, a family-oriented candidate. And it also said, the creative candidate. Well, I can say this, serving as I do now amongst 10 Black people serving simultaneously for the first time in our Washington state history, there is no shortage of a need for creativity. May we and many more after us continue in that legacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This district state representative, Kristen Harris Talley. Yeah, she's representing your interests in Olympia. And I want to thank y'all for the vote today to have put $1 million into the budget for the MLK Gandhi Empowered Initiative. That's going to be paying stipends to students in this program. When they leave, they will not be starting at $8 or $15 an hour. They'll be starting like $60,000 or $70,000 a year in 12 to 14 weeks of training. And it's going to focus on people who've been here for 100 years. Thank you very much. I'd like to have former King County Council member and Seattle Black Panther Party member Larry Gossett come forward. He also was president of the BSU at the University of Washington. When they took over the president's office, demand justice that includes the Black students, Black faculty, and Black administrators. Larry G.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eddie Wright Jr. I have the pleasure of being in Seattle all my life. I was born on this day in King County, in King County Hospital. Today, y'all call it Harborview, but back in those days, the only hospital that would take poor people, whether they be Black, white, or Asian, or whatever, was King County, unless they had some money. Very, very few of us had anything called insurance. I start in that way because I want to take the opportunity to thank the Martin Luther King Celebration Committee for hosting this 4th annual Civil Rights celebration here in Seattle, Washington. And I really want to draw y'all's attention to the fact that they have decided on this year to honor some very important elected officials who have served in the past or are currently serving, as well as some pioneering leaders like April Sims in the labor movement here in Washington State. She's the Secretary-Treasurer, and I hope that
someday soon, she might run for president and actually win that and be the first Black woman over all the Black workers in this country. And Claude Harris and Christopher Williams, these brothers really had to push against hostile winds when they assumed the positions, working as a fireman and working as a chief, working in the Parks Department, and later as a director. The winds of which I speak are the winds of racism that has been institutionalized in every department, unfortunately, in the city of Seattle and Martin Luther King Jr. County, as well as every other jurisdiction in this country. So I'm proud of the fact that one of our newest and premier civil and human rights group, the Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee. Commemoration, I'm sorry, Eddie always is available to correct me. Commemoration Committee has, for the fourth straight year, identified some key people that deserve being recognized. Even though I've already used my time up in talking, I was asked to interview the young man that took my place on the King County Council, because this year the Commemoration Committee is honoring Girmay Zahilay. So let's give it up for him. Girmay is not able to be with us, so I would like to, at this time, invite up his legislative aide, Chandler Gayton. If you could join me up here as I finish my talk about your boss man. Girmay is Chandler's boss now, but Chandler Gayton first started working for Martin Luther King Jr. County as a legislative aide under the Councilmember Larry Gossett. And then Girmay ran against me and won in 2019, and he's in his third year as the only African person. Notice I didn't say African American. He was born in Ethiopia. So he indeed was born in his home country of Africa. His mother and father were born there too. He came here when he was about 5 years old. And it's really excellent that he was able to build himself up to an extent that by the time he was 33, he won a seat on the King County Council. And he was not able to be with us today because he already had plans for the day. So I would like for you to join me in thanking Chandler Gayton, who's going to be an outstanding public servant. This is a prediction I'm making about him. Throughout the years that he's been here or wherever he's been. So let's give it up for Chandler Gayton. But when Girmay got here, his family got here, they came to Seattle when he was about 5 years old. So he graduated from the high school right down the street, around the corner, Franklin High School. He was gifted young people in our nation and graduated there with fine honors. And then he went to law school at one of our most historic universities, the University of Pennsylvania. It is an Ivy League school. Girmay went there and again was an outstanding student in the School of Law, and graduated from the School of Law and had the opportunity to work in New York City and Wall Street as a lawyer and as a transactional lawyer that really helped a lot of companies get themselves together. And then he wanted to come home, so he came back. And he was fortunate enough
to get hired at a very competitive law firm, Perkins Coie. And for the 2 or 3 years before he decided to run for the King County Council, he was one of their most outstanding lawyers. So we expect Girmay to have an outstanding career as an elected official in our community. And already in these 2 years that he's been on the county council, he has really worked setting up some programs in Skyway and throughout the inner city communities that he represents on the county council. So without further ado, I would like to present to Chandler Gayton the Martin Luther King Jr. Commemoration Committee's Award during this Black History Month, and make sure that he sees this and you tell him about this celebration. Chandler. Oh. Okay. Eddie said we got to take a picture together.
Thank you. Okay.
There you go.
One thing I'm sure you all know, when Larry gets the microphone, there's no telling how long we'll be up here, and I say out of love. With Girmay getting this award, the first thing that comes to my mind is there will never be another Larry Gossett. For anybody who's come across him, anybody that knows him, Larry is in a category all by himself, just for who the person he is. With that being said, working for Councilmember Zahilay, nobody else could have taken the position and ran with it like Councilmember Zahilay did. Seeing his connection to the people, to the ground, something that Larry has always embodied, always done. That was the biggest question mark for me. I went to Councilmember before Councilmember Zahilay was in. I wanted his blessing to work for Councilmember Zahilay, and it panned out. He's proven the voters right. He's proven myself that he can do this work, and he's exemplified that he is an outstanding county council member, and it's a blessing to work for him. So that makes it. I won't take up all your time, but I will pass this award to Councilmember Zahilay, and thank you for having me.
I also want to add that Councilman Zahilay also got in touch with the governor's office about reinstating affirmative action. He got the King County Council to pass a unanimous resolution imploring Governor Jay Inslee to reinstate affirmative action. But actually, it was a Department of Justice civil rights complaint we filed in November that caused him to do all this. But I just wanted to let y'all know that. Okay, my next or you next? Well, anyway, Sharon Santos is probably doing her, I think they have town meetings. You have town halls at 7 o'clock or something like that. All the state representatives do. But thank you for being here, Representative Kristen Harris-Talley. Okay, go ahead, Claudia.
Next up, we are going to have another musical selection by Miss Josephine Howe, singing All Rise Up.
So this song was written by my daughter. I'm going to give you a portion of it because it's pretty lengthy. But it was to call attention to what we all need to pay attention to. For those who take a walk with me, to live back in our history, all run. All rise, to face the past that we must dread, to use our strength and lift our head all around. All rise up, please stand up. When will we rise up? Stand for those who fell for us, live for those who died for us. When will we rise up? For those that take a walk with me, to live back in our history, all rise. All rise, to face the past that we must dread, use our strength and lift our head, all run. All run, to face the past that seems so near, to conquer all our hidden fears, all run. All rise up, please stand up. When will we rise up? Stand for those who fell for us, live for those who died for us. When will we rise up? When will we rise up? It's time for those who fell for us, live for those who've died for us. When will we rise up? When will we rise up? When will we rise up?
Go ahead. Yes, yes, yes. Next, I'm going to have Claude Murphy, who is first vice president of the Seattle King County NAACP and an executive committee member of the King County Labor Council, to come up and introduce April Sims. See, Claude, got to get it. There you go, brother.
Well, folks, I'd like you to know I've been knowing April Sims for 20 plus years. I recall when she first started at with the Washington Federation of State Employees. This award that I want to present to April is the Tyree Scott and Beverly A. Sims Award. And I know back in the 70s, and I recall Tyree Scott, he was a vigilant person. He was very dedicated to the unions. And when it came to moving black folks into the union jobs and construction work, he did some wonderful things because he stopped a lot of the labor movement that was moving without us. So he played a significant role in unions. As I said earlier, I've been knowing April for over 20 years, and when she came on board with the Washington Federation of State Employees in 2000, correct me if I'm wrong, 2002. Serving there as a legislative political action field coordinator for AFSCME, Council 28 of Whoopsie. During her tenure with Whoopsie, her responsibilities included but not limited to member education, communications, mobilization around legislative issues, and political campaign. April had a hand in a lot of legislation that were passed regarding wage increases and numerous benefits regarding union members, which also included health and medical benefits. I knew that April was destined to play a major role for all union affiliates in Washington State. April later decided in 2015 to move to the Washington State Labor Council and furthering her career in the labor movement. She started off as a field mobilization director, later moved to political and strategic campaign director, and she is now the first Secretary-Treasurer ever Black woman in the state of Washington. Do I have that correct, Sharika? And she was elected in 2018. And I hope in the very near future, her journey will make it to the next level. And I definitely believe that the union affiliates will support her in that. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like for you, and I would like to dedicate this award to my good friend, April Sims, Secretary Treasurer of the Washington State. Okay.
Thank you, Claude. Oh, yeah, yeah. Claude started talking. I thought you were going to start telling all my business. I'm like, hold on now.
I want y'all to just hold on. You got it? You want the president, you got to have some awards.
Oh, thank you for that introduction, Claude. Claude's right. We go way back to the way back. And he's been a good brother for a long time. I want to thank the Martin Luther King Commemoration Committee for recognizing me today, and to the sponsors of today's event. It really is an honor to have my name included along the likes of leaders and trailblazers like Peggy Joan Maxie and Girmay Zahilay, Christopher Williams, and retired Fire Chief Claude Harris, who clearly knows how to pack a room. So, yeah. I do want to take a moment and ground myself, acknowledging the land that we are on today. We are on the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, the original people of Seattle, the Duwamish tribe. And I honor with deep respect and gratitude their elders, past and present, for their stewardship of this land and its people. Mine is a legacy of stolen people on stolen land, so I take the opportunity to raise my voice in the struggle for Black liberation and the movement for Black lives. And would invite you all to take a moment and consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us all into this space, and hope that you will consider uncovering these truths at your meetings and events moving forward. Thank you. So like Claude mentioned, I'm April Sims. My pronouns are she and her, and I have the privilege of serving as the Secretary Treasurer of the Washington State Labor Council, AFL-CIO, which is the largest labor organization in our state, representing over 600 locals and affiliates and over 500,000 working folks all across the state of Washington. Yeah. I do have the distinction of being the first Black woman elected to the executive leadership position for the State Labor Council. I'm one of only a few in the nation, but I do want to give a shout out to my sister, Peggy Talley, in Ohio, who was the first Black woman elected Secretary Treasurer of an AFL-CIO state body. She is a trailblazer for me, and without her leadership, I would not be here. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention her. So as Secretary Treasurer, it's not a title that translates well outside the labor community, but my fiduciary responsibilities are ensuring financial health of our organization and constitutional compliance. So at first blush, you probably don't want to be trapped on a flight for 6 hours right next to me and hear all about constitutional compliance. But the Constitution of the Washington State Labor Council, and this is a quote, charges us with fighting the forces that seek to undermine the democratic institutions of our nation and to enslave the human soul. That is a beautiful charge. And it's one that matters to me both personally and professionally. Professionally, because constitutional compliance, I already mentioned that, so I'm a lot of fun at dinner parties. But personally, because my grandparents were sharecroppers in rural Louisiana, which means they, like the generations before them, picked cotton just to survive. And when my grandfather learned the landowner was shorting some of the families on the crop payout, he got the other farmers all riled up. I like to think of him as a union organizer. But as you can imagine, that didn't go down so well in his community, and the landowners sent some folks to the house, and they dragged my grandfather out to the whipping post. They were intent on making an example out of him. My grandfather was a strong, proud man, and he fought back, and he escaped narrowly by pulling what he always referred to as his Texas Jack, which was the knife he kept tucked inside his right boot. But he knew if they found him, they'd lynch him for sure. So he and the family went into hiding. They made their way to northern Louisiana, where my grandmother's family lived. And there they told him he could stay, but only if he could learn to keep his head down and his mouth shut. They didn't want him bringing that kind of trouble around there.
And he knew that he couldn't raise his family with any dignity in the violent and the segregated South. And he dreamt of a better life, not just for him, but for his children and his children's children. So he left my grandma and the 5 kids and the safekeeping of her family, and he migrated to Washington in search of social and economic justice. He came through the Hanford plant, which was one of the few areas that was paying Black and white workers the same wages. So for the first time in his life, he earned a fair day's pay for a hard day's work. He was able to save enough money to send for the family, but he wasn't free, because Pasco was an original sundown town. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. One of those towns where if you're caught after dark, any number of bad things could happen for you. And so while he had economic dignity for the first time in his life, he still didn't have justice. He still wasn't free. It wasn't until the family moved to Seattle, he got a job as a janitor at Littman's clothing store, became a member of Teamsters 174, that he had both the social justice and the economic justice that he deserved. So for me and my family and my community, the struggle for social justice and the struggle for economic justice are the exact same struggle. They're inextricably linked. One simply does not exist without the other. And that is the work of our labor movement. And it is work that I have a privilege to lead. Now, Tyree Scott and Beverly Sims embodied this same belief. And they dedicated their lives to building multiracial working class solidarity. Trailblazers in our community and in our movement, I am here because of them. My leadership is a testament to them. And I read a quote from Sister Beverly when she was describing her husband, and she said, even when Tyree was told the trades were impossible to change, he always believed we could make real change. He was an optimist. Those of us who attempt to change our institutions from the inside are optimists. We know the struggles that come from representing 2 communities that are often in conflict, and we do the work anyway. So I'm proud to be in the same fight as Brother Tyree and Sister Beverly, doing my part to continue their efforts to impact change from the inside and widen the trail that they blazed so that more Black women can rise up into leadership positions in our ranks. Leaders and Black women like Sharika Carter, who is the Political and Strategic Campaigns Director for the Washington State Labor Council. Now, I'm not entirely sure that I am worthy of this recognition, but I commit to doing my best to living up to this honor and living up to the legacy of Tyree Scott and Beverly Sims. Thank you so much.
I thought you were going to do this. Okay, next up, we're going to have the former president of the Seattle Black Firefighters Association, also was a board member of the International Association of Black Professional Firefighters. I still couldn't figure out why Seattle wasn't professional firefighters, but anyway, Clarence Williams, who went through a lot of changes. You see him on the board back there, him, Lim Howe, Claude, and, Dixon, and Davis, and all these folks. They kicked the door down, so I want to bring Clarence Williams up to introduce our next honoree.
Thank you, Eddie. What a privilege it is to introduce such a distinguished gentleman in the audience today. And had I known that I was going to be doing this more than 2 minutes ago, I would have written out a most eloquent introduction for you, Claude. One that highlighted all of your professional careers and all of the academic achievements that you have done over the years. But since I can't tell them all of those things, I'll just have to tell them what I know. Claude was the first African-American firefighter to be hired in the city of Seattle in 1959. And just to tell you something about one of his best friends named Rose, when Claude was first hired, he was at station number 12 down on Union Street, what is now a library, And when he got to work that day, the rookies always had to go when they had a fire and clean up the house or the building afterwards. So he got all of his gear, all of his turnout gear, helmets and everything, and standing on the corner because he had to take the bus to the fire to go and clean up where the fire was the previous night. His best friend, Rose, passed by, and he said notices to everybody afterwards. And there was Claude standing on the corner, waiting on the bus. And about that time, Engine 12 got an alarm that they had to go on, and they passed by Claude with lights and sirens on, going down the road. And Claude was standing there, and he told everybody in town, they are so racist in Seattle Fire Department, they won't even let the black firefighters ride on the truck. They have to take the bus to the fire. Claude had to live that down for a long time. But he was the first as a black firefighter. He was the first black lieutenant, the first black captain. But before then, he was the first black president of the Seattle Black Firefighters Association. And with that honor, it gave him stepping stones to become the first black fire chief in the city of Seattle. And that didn't come easy because Lim Howell, as he just mentioned, was our attorney that took us all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and we won a case that gave rights to Claude to become fire chief right here in Seattle. Not only did it give us the right to hire Claude, but it gave us the right to hire minorities and women within the Seattle Fire Department and the Seattle Police Department and every other city department in the city of Seattle. We made law because we won in the United States Supreme Court, thanks to Claude Harris in a case that started right in our building there and went all the way to the top. Robert Davis has the paperwork with us. But nevertheless, Claude has done tremendous work in terms of his leadership when he got into the Seattle Fire Department. He said that on his inauguration day that he is Claude Harris, but he's a friend of some, but he is the chief of all. And he carried that out throughout his legacy in the Seattle Fire Department. And I'm so glad that I had this opportunity to work along with him, and there are many other stories I can tell, and you can talk to me afterwards, and for a slight fee, we can tell you a whole lot of stories about Claude Harris. But nevertheless, I'm not a loquacious one, Claude is, so we're going to bring him up right now so that he can tell you his story. Chief Claude Harris, come on up. We got to get the picture taken first. There you go, sir.
I wanted to correct one thing. Clarence was once the president of the Black Firefighters Association, and he was also the president of the International Black Fires Association. I want to start off by thanking the, well, I'll talk loud. I don't want it loud screaming. But I want to thank the Martin Luther King Commemorations Committee for inviting me and 4 other people here for this honorary privilege. I also want to thank Senior Reverend Jimmy Hurd for welcoming all of us to this beautiful church to have this commemoration. I'm honored. I look out and I think about a community celebration I had with my family back in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I told them, I said, I have 3 families. When I was in the Army, I worked with a bunch of people that we might die the next day, but we were there for each other. They were family. We ate and slept together. When I came into the fire department, they were family. We were together 24 hours a day. And I love them. They support me, and things went well. Then I also have my biological family. So I want to thank the community here for coming in and helping all of us go through this honorary procedure. Larry Gossett, I've been knowing him for years. There's so many others. I don't want to start calling names because I might miss someone. But without the support of everyone, I wouldn't have made it this far. And I've had some difficult times in the fire department. I was the only black firefighter for 8 years. And I almost quit 25 times. 5 of those times, as we say in the fire department, I was as serious as a heart attack. But without the support of those firefighters that wanted to see me succeed, I never would have made it. And since I'm in a church, I can say this with realism. God always had my back. So I spent 37 years in the Seattle Fire Department. I went through the ranks as a firefighter, lieutenant, captain, battalion chief, deputy chief, and eventually chief of the department. But none of that was easy. It took me 3 tries to become chief of the department. It took me 2 times to become a lieutenant. So all of that takes work. And I'd like to say to all of the parents sitting out here, all of the fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers, aunts, and uncles, I just talked to Chief Scoggins there, and he told me that March 1st will be the opening for applications for Seattle firefighters. And guess how much they pay? $84,000 a year. So get your kids ready, get them out there. I'm always recruiting. I've been recruiting ever since I've been in this department. Also I want to say is that it's been 26 years since I retired. I came in January 5th, 1959. And I had one of the former fire chiefs, the one that I followed, he and I came in together, but he was ahead of me. And the opening came up for fire chief, and I went up and told him, I said, man, you need to apply for that job. And he looked at me, and he says, why does so-and-so can't you apply for the job? And I said, I'm just a captain. And he says, so what? And he turned his back and walked away from me. We've been friends ever since. And he called me January 5th. He said, say, Claude, what are you doing? I said, I'm laying down in bed watching TV. He said, man, don't you know what day this is? I said, yeah, it's our anniversary. He said, yeah, 63 years since we first went into the Seattle Fire Department. So I'm an old guy. But God has always had my back. I'm healthy. I'm doing well. I've skied up until this year. I'm giving up skiing. And I've always played a little golf, so I'll concentrate more on golf. But I want to thank all of these firefighters. A lot of them I recruited. A lot of them I was chief of personnel, and I hired them. And I want to thank them all for the support that they have given me, but more than that, the support that they have given this community. And I wanted to thank Chief Harold Scoggins there. Stand up, a lot of these people don't know you, man. So when I left, a white fire chief took over, and then he left, and Dean, a black fireman, took over. He stayed there for 10 and a half years, then he retired, and DC called him up and said, we got an opening and we could use you. So he spent 45 years in the Seattle Fire Department, Then he went 5 years in the Washington, D.C. department. And now we have Harold Scoggins. I should have mentioned his wife is sitting beside him as well. So a man can't make it without his wife. So I want to recognize her also. Okay, I spent 37 years in the fire department. Like I said, almost quit 25 times. 5 of them, I was as serious as a heart attack. But I was meant to be there, and I enjoyed it. If I had to do it all over again, I would go right back and go through the same steps. And I've said that many a times at high school, junior high schools, and grade schools. And you have to stick in there and keep on working. And thank you for the award. Thank you for attending. Thank you for everything. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Look, I want everybody to hang on. We do have some Ezel's chicken and stuff like that, and some drinks. So I want everybody to hang on. Oh, Sade, go right ahead.
Well, we are not finished yet. We got one more award and we got one more musical selection. I'm going to invite Chandler Williams back to the stage. Give us another song.
I am grateful for the things that you have done. I am grateful for the victories we've won. I could go on and on and on about your works. Because I'm grateful, grateful, so grateful just to praise you, Lord, flowing from my heart are the issues of my heart. It's gratefulness. Oh, I am grateful for the things that you have done. I am grateful for the victories we've won. I could go on and on and on about your works. Because I'm grateful, grateful, so grateful just to praise you, Lord, flowing from my heart are the issues of my heart. It's gratefulness.
Okay, and to introduce the recipient for our last award is the Reverend Paul Bentz. And it's his award. So it is a Community Public Agency Collaboration Award. So please give a round of applause for Reverend Paul Bentz.
Thank you, my dear. It's good to see you, too. Yes. Thank you, Sade, for your good work in the community for many years. And it's an honor and a privilege to be here because when my coworker for justice calls, and we know who we're talking about, our man in red. When he calls, I just say, Eddie, what time and where? We love you, Eddie. Love you, Sade. Thank you. Put your hands together. Put your hands together. And for Pastor Jimmy Hurd, thank you for opening the church up. We were reminded today that it's still February, right? And it's good to be inside where it's warm. I think of this day and this month, I think of it as a white man standing before you. And I think of what's going on in Olympia, what's going on in the other Washington and around the world. And how important it is to be reminded this month and this day and this time right here in this sanctuary, this sacred space, of remembering those whose shoulders we stand on, those living, Claude and our good state representative who's here today, and those who have went before us. And I think of one of those today. I was honored to be once again working behind the scenes for the Charles Rolland Afro-American Lobby Day. And he, like so many here in this sanctuary and who have went before us, paved the way. Tyree Scott, who go on down the list, for empowering voices in places of power that are often not heard. And so I give you thanks, Eddie, for inviting me to be here and for the honor of having this award. When we think of those ancestors that have went before us in the difficult times, the divisive times, the challenging times, they had to have, you know what I'm doing? They had to have some backbone. They had to have some backbone. When you rise to speak on the floor of the state representatives or the state senate or wherever it might be, whatever the workplace might be, you've got to have courage to speak up for what is right. In those challenging times, it's important to bring people together. As difficult as that is in these days. And so I'm privileged to be able to honor tonight Christopher Williams. Where's Christopher at? Come on up, Christopher. Christopher is no newcomer to the city of Seattle or to this particular neighborhood. Christopher just grew up here about 4 blocks from Holgate Church. Christopher has been working in the city of Seattle at the Seattle Parks and Recreation Department for 30 plus years as our public servant, keeping those beautiful green spaces for us to enjoy. Christopher is the chair of the board of Together Washington. Did you hear that? Together Washington. And they bring together people from all different stripes, backgrounds, ethnicities, political perspectives for conversations on the difficult issues. And the purpose is to promote healing. To promote healing. Because you and I know we are a divided country. And yes, we know that this isn't the first time. But what do we do in the midst of that? We stand up and speak up for truth, and we bring people together for healing. Thank you, Christopher.
We're 10 minutes away from Ezel Chicken, y'all. There you go, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Reverend Paul Bentz. And what an honor it is today to be here with just a wonderful cohort of community leaders and professionals, April Sims, Peggy Maxie, Mr. Harris. In fact, I reached over and called out to Mr. Harris to thank him because I'm sure over the course of my 30 years working in the city that I am standing on his shoulders, even though I'm not a Seattle firefighter. So thank you very much for your fight. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for having shoulders broad enough that not until today even that I realized that I might be standing on those shoulders. So thank you. I also would like to thank Claude Harris and Hayward Evans. They called me a few days ago and told me that I had been nominated and received this award. And I almost fell down on my knees because it was so humbling to me. I have worked inside a bureaucracy for a long time. I have found ways to serve the bureaucracy, but I've also found creative ways to serve the community. And I think that Ms. Sims pointed out that the struggle, the race and social justice struggle, is not just a struggle for ideals. It is an economic struggle. It's an economic fight. I grew up about 6 blocks east of here at 1524 30th Avenue South. I'm from this neighborhood. Coming back here is like that sensation you get when you smell fresh cut grass. This is home to me in a lot of ways. The organization Together Washington brings together people with disparate, dispassionate points of view, people who don't agree on anything, to come together, sit in the same room, and have a civil discourse, a civilized conversation about the most important issues, pressing issues that impact our community. And you know, it's not just our community, it's the place where we live. It's the place where we want our kids to live. They're our kids. So how do we come together, have a discussion about political views, values, ideas, and the things that make us feel whole as people? That's what Together Washington does. We are bringing people together to have powerful conversations about people you wouldn't imagine sitting on the opposite side of the table, having a discussion with about a whole variety of issues. So I'm very honored to be serving as the board chair for Together Washington. I'm very honored to have been at the Seattle Park and Recreation Department for 30 years. And I'm just honored to be here today and the fellowship of all these good people here. And my family is here, my beautiful wife, my mom and stepdad are here. I want to thank them and honor them. And I just thank you all, and thank you to the NAACP and to all the community leaders here. I am very humbled. Thank you so much.
Okay, man, congratulations. Okay, we're 5 minutes away from Ezel's Fried Chicken. So we're going to have, where's Pastor Jimmy Hurd? Stand up again, brother. We owe you a lot. Well, thank you very much for opening up the church for us. We really appreciate it. Matter of fact, he said this church is a community center. It is open 7 days a week. But the sad thing is he took a tour of the community. The 4-block radius, there are only 2 black families that live here anymore. That's sad. But with that, we want to ask Reverend Paul Bentz to come and do the benediction, and we will proceed over to the next room for the Ezel's Chicken.
That's a difficult task. I'm being between you and Ezel's Fried Chicken. Hurry up, preacher. Let's make it quick. Could you please rise? And I know we are still in COVID, but as you feel comfortable, take the hand or an elbow to the person next to you to symbolize our unity, a hand on the shoulder, whatever it might be. Lord God, you who have created each of us in our mother's womb, and you know every wrinkle, every wart, and every beautiful part of who you created. And for we know from Dr. King and from so many others of our ancestors that we are beautiful people and we are a part of the beloved community. We know we are in fractured times and divisive times, and difficult times. But we know, as someone has said earlier tonight, that you always have our back and that your angels are always over us, beside us, underneath of us, picking us up, leading us forward. May each of us here continue to use the voice that you have given to us, O God. May we use our hands to join with other hands to rise up and to continue to speak truth to power and to continue to mold that moral arc towards justice for racial equity. And everybody here said, amen. Everybody here said, amen. Everybody here said,
Hayward has Johanna CM is here, the attorney for the Seattle Black Firefighters. I want to acknowledge him. Also, Hayward has some.
And we want to acknowledge a couple more people. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers are the ones who put the lights up in Martin Luther King Jr. Civil Rights Memorial Park. And they've agreed to do it now every year. So every year for Black History Month, our park will be lit. Thank you. Tony. And Tony, wave your hand so they know who you are. The electrical workers, he had the apprentice out there. Also Liz Beaver and Marla, her daughter, they make sure we're in the Facts newspaper and we get our right spot. Thank you all. City of Seattle Parks Department, thank you.
Rainier Avenue Radio with Tony B. Is it on? I've asked, Chief Harold Scoggins has asked all the firefighters to stay in the room. Chief wants all the firefighters retired and otherwise to stay in the room to take a picture with Claude Harris. Chief, it would not be more effective if you make the announcement.
Hey, can we get all the SFD folks up here to the front and somebody bring Claude Harris? We're going to put the firefighters on the job, on the podium, and all the retired firefighters out front with Claude in the middle. Does anyone see Chief Harris? There he is right there. So make your way on up here. Don't be shy. Come on up. All the retired guys, we know you want to talk, but there's going to be some chicken later. Let's go. We'll make our way on up. We may have to get 2 rows right here. Let's get Chief Harris in the middle right here. Where's Chief Harris at? Two lines so we can see a little closer to the edge, but don't fall. Few people can step down on the step right there. We'll get the retired guys right here on the row right here. Chief Harris, we're going to put you right here in the middle. All the retired guys. Let's use a step if we're full. Put some people on the step right here and fill it in. Put some people on the step over there. All the retired guys, book in, Chief Harris. There we go. Let's tighten it up some and put some people on the step right here. Come on in. How you doing? All right, let's move it up more to the middle so we can see you. We want to see you here. Hey, Willie, bring a line up in front of the podium. Push the group up. Okay, Kim, can you see everybody? Or can you see everybody and we can get a copy from you?
I can see everybody, but
You need it. Make a hole. Make a hole. Let's go. You need that chair? Beat this group to the chair.
Rainier Radio? Yes. Oh, okay. I remember seeing you on the 23rd. Which one? I remember seeing you on I'm 20. No, I remember seeing you on the 23rd. Oh, yeah. I'm just introducing myself. Cool. Thank you. Hey, Daniel, hold this for a second while I put the headphones on. All right. You. Okay. Turn the headphones up. Maybe that'll make it. Turn the headphones up. Maybe that'll make it. Right there. Okay. There we go. We have been live here at the 4th annual MLK Civil Rights Memorial Park. Do we have the wireless? Okay. 1 2 1 2. Okay, we can go back to this.
So I went out and had my picture taken. I come back in and the guy says, "You no team player."
This is Tony B. I have Bertle Jordan with me. Talk to me about the importance of this type of event and what this shows to the community.
Well, Tony, it's very nice to be here with you. I'd just like to say when we're acknowledging and celebrating our actual, when you talk about being on somebody's shoulders, this is literal because, as you know, Claude was the first firefighter and first all the way up, all the way through the grades up until the fire chief. And I think that now, making sure number one, he gets his flowers while he's still here. Number two is that people know from where we came, and it's important to know your history and essentially who your heroes are. Now, this is a hero that's alive and well, and you can get with him, talk with him, and he'll tell you the story, and it'll be a true story. So I think, as so far as if you think of history as being important, and you can actually talk to somebody, and he is history, I think that's an important deal. And I think that he's doing an excellent job in representing us. Even today, he looks great. And his mind is sound, he's smart as a whip, and remembers everything. And so without him being steadfast in what we were doing, who knows how many less black firefighters there would be in the Seattle Fire Department.
I'm going to change the subject here just a little bit to see if I can get some information on this year's celebration for Festival Sunjata. Just some breaking news, if there's something you'd like to share right now about the upcoming event.
All right, it's kind of breaking news. We're going to get it out to everybody real soon. Festival Sunjata is going to be held at Seattle Center, and it's going to be on Juneteenth, same day as Father's Day. And our headliners this year are going to be Wale, it's going to be the Barcades. We're going to have the Stone City Band, which is Rick James' band. And we're going to fill the place with just arts, entertainment, food. It's all going to be free to get into. And we're going to count on there being excellent weather there. So Festival Sunjata, we've had our 40th anniversary 2 years ago, right at the start of COVID, but we're going to celebrate it this year as though it's our 40th anniversary, and we invite everybody in the community to come out. We have everybody in the Northwest to come on out, and further if you want to.
Thanks for what you do in our community.
Thank you so much. All right.
So that's the female firefighter.
Well, this is Tony B, and again, we are coming to you, and I'm going to, if I can, get an opportunity quickly here, if I can get a few words with our host.
Of course.
And I am speaking with
Jimmy Hurd, the minister here at the Holgate Street Church of Christ. We've been here for 51 years on this corner, and we're just privileged to be able to host events like this in our community, bring our community together, celebrate those individuals who have made such great contributions to our community. So we're just so glad to have this opportunity, and had a great turnout, and we just appreciate being here.
Is there information you'd like to share about the church for those who may be looking for a church home or interested in hearing the good word?
Yeah, certainly. We're an independent, non-denominational church. We're a community church. And if you're interested in learning about the Bible, having a relationship with God, we're here. We do have live services at 10 a.m. And if I don't speak too long, we're done by 11:15. We also have online services. You can go to holgatecoc.com. That's holgatecoc.com. And you can see us online as well. So we welcome you to come.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
This is Tony B from Rainier Avenue Radio World. We'll be ending our broadcast here shortly. Again, the 4th annual NOK Civil Rights Black History Month Awards. Fight voter suppression. Thank you for joining us here, and we'll be returning you now to our regularly scheduled programming.